Hi, I'm Khleif. Each and every week, I record an interview with a thought leader that I know you're going to get a ton of value from. Now, here on YouTube are the video versions of my podcast, Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. Now, to make sure you get the latest information, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. You're going to really enjoy the gentleman we're interviewing today. He's a real dynamic guy. His name's Castrina. And he's written several books. He's been on stage along the likes of Tony Robbins and other luminaries. And we're gonna go a little bit off topic today. It's not going to be about multifamily. It's going to be about business building and entrepreneurship. Sean, welcome to the show, brother.
Great, I'm excited to be here.
So Sean, why don't we start with a little background, if you don't mind, as we usually do on the show. Just maybe tell people, who you are, where you came from, and what you're about.
Great. One of those kids who grew up poor, didn't realize you were poor till you're in college and everybody else can buy something and you can't, and knew right then that I don't think money's everything, but I do think it's in the top three. And so it's one of those where as soon as I got out of college, I knew that I wanted to do well financially, and that naturally gets your entrepreneurship, desires going. So from that point on, I've been starting businesses ever since. And obviously anybody who, understands the pillars of finance has a lot of real estate as well. So personally, I'm a big fan of real estate as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, just about any successful person that I know that owns a business, started a business, uses real estate to shelter income, or does it just for the incredible values involved. So Sean, I know you wrote a book, and maybe this would be a great kind of outline for our interview today. You wrote a book called The Greatest Entrepreneur in the World, The Tale of Seven Pillars. And so why don't we talk about what those seven pillars are? Because guys, those of you listening, if you're going to do this, let me rephrase that. When you do this multifamily business, you've got to take off your employee hat and become an entrepreneur, and so this side hustle is an entrepreneurship hustle. And so let's talk about what it takes to be an awesome entrepreneur, Sean.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is, and I think it goes with anything, is that you've got to be the right person. In other words, I invest, my model in business is I have a lot of partners. I invest in good people, just like you invest in houses. I think a business will only go as far as the person leading it. So my number one pillar is you got to find somebody who's just has the innate desire to be successful, that relentlessness, because the business will only go, I don't care what you teach a person, if they do not have that inner drive, the ability to take rejection, the ability to get up from failure, the ability to set goals, accomplish goals, it's pretty simple formula, but, problem is only 20% of the people out there have it. You have to be a successful entrepreneur. You got to be the right person to succeed. And I think I've always said, listen, you can have a great business idea. I could give Google to that idea to 999,000 people that would ruin it, that would never get anything off the ground. It doesn't matter how good the idea is, but yet you can give an average idea to somebody with some drive and they'll make it work. They bend it. They beat it into submission.
Love it.
I think that's kind of my first thing is, you need to
let's dig on that. Let me drill down on that just for a moment, if you don't mind. I couldn't agree more. In fact, I think the reason for this podcast success is part of what I talk about is the fact that 80 to 90% of this is psychology and mindset. You have to go out there and do it. It's not, the mechanics, the vehicle, like you just said, doesn't matter. It could be a Google, it could be something a lot less exciting, but the right person can make it happen with mindset, psychology, and pushing forward. So, with that in mind, do you think someone can develop those characteristics if they want it bad enough, or is it
I didn't have them at 18. I was a good athlete, but my point is that, I think that we're all innately given few special things, but it takes a lot to really succeed. So it's not, everybody's going to have to learn something. We're all probably have a few things that come easier to us, but I absolutely believe anybody can learn and develop, what it takes to be successful, because success, it works itself universally, whether it's real estate, entrepreneurship, athletics. We have goals. We don't stop until we achieve them, and we do whatever it takes to achieve them.
Right. And that, that's, in fact, that's probably one of the biggest pieces is knowing what it is you want. And I think as importantly, why you want it, and love it. So that's step number one. The mindset's got to be there. The drive's got to be there. You've got to want it. So what's number two?
One thing I think, and this kind of goes against what everybody ever talks about, I think passion is overrated. And let me clarify that, because I'm also the guy that doesn't think the customer is always right, which makes me totally off board there as well. But what I mean about passion is I'm passionate about golf. I'm passionate about tennis. I just got off the tennis court. It doesn't mean I go by a driving range or a tennis resort. That doesn't, just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean it's a great idea. What I tell people is, listen, find a great, profitable idea and let that pay for your passion. So I'm really big on qualifying your business idea. I've seen too many people start businesses based on a passion they had, but there was no profit there. There was no market there. So I think it's really important to have, a profitable idea and let that pay for your passion.
No, I love it. And let me ask you this. Do you feel like if you're going to do something and you're going to, and you're going to work at something, you're going to start a business, whatever it is, do you feel like you need to love it, or at least learn to love it so that you enjoy it? Or how do you feel about that
We're
argument?
going to laugh about this. I own a highly, highly, highly profitable construction company from A to Z. I mean, we built 7-figure homes to put in a doorknob. I have a plastic Toys R Us toolkit in my office upstairs that's beautiful. That's the closest my employees would ever let me get to a tool. I couldn't tell you the difference between 2 screwdrivers. But 20 years ago, I couldn't get anybody to help me convert my dining room into a home office. I just wanted recessed lights, couldn't get anybody to do it. I said, there's got to be other people like me. Well, that little handyman company, 3 weeks later, I had 54 phone calls in 1 week. I've never worked in any of my businesses. It was a profitable idea. My goal initially was to pay for a golf membership to a very nice country club here, which it did. My point is that your why has to be important. It's not necessarily the passion for the business. I thought it was a great idea. That fueled my passion. I knew it was going to do great. I was excited about it because I thought it was profitable, but it was what it was going to be able to provide, flexibility of schedule. My kids have never gone to daycare. Okay, my wife and we have an incredible schedule. I've never missed a field trip, a sporting event. It's what entrepreneurship can pay for that drove me. The idea was irrelevant. It was just the vehicle, and I'm only going to get on a good vehicle, and that's the idea of a profitable idea.
Okay, so whether or not you like it, it doesn't matter to you. It's really about its ability to make a profit. Have you ever owned a business you didn't like?
It's not that I don't like any of them. Just I'm not. Example, I owned a window cleaning company. Listen to me. I've never cleaned the windows on my car before. But, you want to pay 2 guys $880 a day, and I can pay one $15 an hour and one $18. I don't mind making a $600 spread a day. That's $3,000 a week. It's $150,000 a year. I'd have to have $1.5 million in an annuity kind of on a good day to pass that off in a year. I look at everything as the vehicle. The end game is a flexible life, time with my family, being able to be generous. I just got off vacation in Nashville with my friends from college that I pay for 2 trips a year. They're all pastors and whatever the case. They go, Sean, we'll do the ministry part. We'll just pray you keep making money. The point is that, entrepreneurship just allows me to do so many amazing things.
Love it. Love it. Well, guys, there you heard it. So if you don't love multifamily real estate, go do it anyway, because it is definitely profitable and it is an incredible vehicle. So, you've heard me say you got to love it or learn to love it or go do something else. Well, Sean says otherwise. So
let me do one plug for real estate, plug for real estate, because I tell every person this in business. I tell everybody, own the real estate underneath your business. If you don't accomplish any one thing in business, own the land underneath of it. And the second thing is, the biggest checks I've ever cashed were real estate checks.
Sure. Same here.
I'm a big fan of real estate.
Yeah, I've built 24 businesses myself, and several have been worth millions and millions of dollars, and most have been, frankly, spectacular flaming seminars. I call them. So the third pillar is your definition of passion. What's the third?
Yeah, I mean, I go through a few of them, but the other one is that you need to have an active business plan. And this is different than anything we've ever read, in my opinion, is that too many business plans are like the 10 Commandments and they're not going to be adjusted. Well, starting a business is like flying a kite. Running a big business is kind of like having a barge or a battleship. If you don't hit an island or an iceberg, it's okay. When you're starting a business, everything can take it out of the air. So you have to have a business plan that can adapt quickly. So I get excited about my business plan, but I'm shocked how different it looks 2 years down the road. So it's great to have a plan, but it needs to be active. It needs to have room for adjustment in it, because what you think might be your number one form of profit can completely change 3 months from now.
Love it. And you know, Tony Robbins, I spent a lot of time with him, and he talks about, you know, having your outcome in your mind's eye. And of course, it's never a straight line. And if one way doesn't work, you change your approach and you try it a different way. And if that doesn't work, you change your approach and try it again. And you rinse and repeat until you make it work. Now, back to your business plan comment,
Yeah.
you know, guys. You know, like we closed on 403 doors today. Awesome day today in Louisiana. We just closed.
Yeah.
And we have a plan, a business plan for that property, because it is a business. So we know what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it. Now, could it evolve? Absolutely. We planned on selling that property in a couple of years, but we just found out there's $1 billion development going in across the river. So we may evolve and keep that thing. So, you know, that's the parallel, and that's why I wanted Sean on the show. All right, awesome. So what's next? What else in this business?
You know, marketing is not optional. Let me just speed on that. Marketing is not optional, and I kind of tied that goes in my first book, The 8 Unbreakable Rules for Business Startup Success, and it kind of parallels this book, even though this is a fictional tale. But the point is this: is that I always hear, you know, we're a word of mouth business. That is the dumbest statement ever made. By only broke people make that statement. I always say to them, do you know Apple sells iPhones? I see it every day because they have a commercial. It's going to shock you, but Budweiser sells beer. Yeah, they spent about $40 million in Super Bowl ads to remind you, and Bill Gates and all the rest, and everybody advertises. My point is that businesses have to have a marketing plan. They have to have a client that they're trying to attract. And I take that to a step further. I say, you know, it's not just marketing. You need to build a brand. You know, I take it a step further, and the greatest entrepreneur in the world is that your business has to become a brand, or it's a commodity.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, no question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's why I tell people, you know, don't tell me you don't advertise. You need to go further. Not only do you need to advertise, you need to have I always say, say, well, how do I build a brand? What's the one promise that if you made to your customers, and if you could deliver on it, they would chase you down for your business? There's your brand. Love
it. Yeah, no, and you know, it's funny. I'm just thinking about my own, this last journey that I'm on the last couple of years, and this brand that I never planned to build. But you're talking about marketing, and guys, you're thinking I don't need to market if I buy apartment buildings. Baloney. You got to market to investors. I mean, we raised money for this Shreveport deal, accredited only. Let me put a caveat in there, but the point is, you know, that's marketing. You market yourself every day, but every business, Peter Drucker says, every business is innovation and marketing. That's it. That's every business, innovation and marketing. And if any one of those two things are missing, the business won't thrive or survive. Now,
absolutely.
And building the brand, guys. You know, I've got my event here coming up in Denver, and one of the big things we talk about is building your brand, getting a website, getting a name, and trying to differentiate yourself in some fashion. This podcast was my way to build a brand. And there are lots of guys that are getting into this multifamily space that are doing podcasts, YouTube video channels. They're doing Facebook groups. They're doing meetup groups. And that's how they're developing their brand and getting their reach. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, this ties right in, John. Awesome stuff. What's next?
You got to be able to build the team. I've never seen anything successful done by one person. Even if he's the face of it or she's the face of it, there's always a team behind them. And I think whenever I go into failed small businesses, I look around and they introduce me to all these family members working for them. No family member. That's what I tell you. If you're lucky, you've got one family member that you can hire. But if you look all the way around the building, there's nothing but kinfolk. You either love them a lot, and that's okay, and you can afford to make that mistake. But you're never going to look around a family reunion and tell me that's the best people you can hire. I apologize, but that's just the fact to it. I surround myself with extraordinarily talented people. If I have one gift, it's the ability to recognize talent, maybe even before the individual even realizes they have it, and bring them on board. And so building a team is it. Anything great is done by more than one person.
No, let me drill down on something you just said. You have the ability to recognize talent. Tell me what you look for. What how
they have energy. Warren Buffett says that. Show me a guy I want somebody with integrity. I would say, what, I expect integrity. So, I think we overplay that just a little bit, because I expect you to tell me the truth and whatever the case may be. But they have an energy. They have a bounce in their step. They're relentless. Example, my daughter just had a wedding. And you couldn't, a beautiful spot, but you couldn't really find it. And when I went there the day she was getting married, there was all these balloons on the mailbox. And I said to my wife, who did that? And she said, oh, Jeremiah did it. I hired him. I brought him from Florida to Virginia, and he's one of my partners now. He was 21 years old. You know why I did it? Because he was the only one who not only noticed that it was a little difficult to find, but he went out and bought balloons that day. Well, he now lives with my wife and I. He's going to college here, and he's one of our partners.
I'll be darned.
He's 21. Now I've got guys who are 30, 40, and 50. They have something. They have an energy. There's something they bring that you just go, wow, I give that guy an opportunity, or I give her an opportunity. I got a funny feeling something's going to be great. One last story on that. One of the best secretary I ever had put the bricks on the last home I built 10 years ago. He showed up at 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, working 30 feet in the air, putting bricks. And I said to her, I said, Amy, if I put you in air conditioning, it won't be a fair fight. Hired her. She said, when am I getting paid? I'll never forget this. She single mom. I said, let me put it this way. I'll pay you in such a way that you will never need a man. You may choose one, but you will never need one. And pulled her off bricks, and she was my personal secretary for almost a decade. So my point is, they're all dressed up in so many different costumes, but you can tell them they just got something extra.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll see that in servers and restaurants and things like that. You're like, man, what are you doing here? Love it. And guys, multifamily real estate, you want to talk about building a team. It is a team sport. It is not a do-it-alone sport. Sure, you can flip houses. They can do that yourself, but not apartment buildings. It is a team sport. And, and you want to be around the best people you can possibly find. And, and I got that lesson late in life. I used to try to save money and try to keep the expenses down. Big mistake. Focus on the best you can find. They will pay for themselves tenfold. Do you agree, Sean?
Well, I always say it's the employee that can't do the job that costs you money. You never, ever overpay a talented person. Never.
No, couldn't agree more. Oh, this is great stuff. What else? Keep them coming.
All right. One of the big things that I constantly find is that people they stop learning. I always say, listen, you need to constantly be a learner. I always say failure is best heard through a secondhand story. I'd rather read about somebody's failure. I'd rather see it in an interview, hear about it in a podcast. You don't have to experience failure firsthand all the time. But if you don't read, listen to podcasts, go to seminars, every failure is firsthand. Man, they get expensive.
I love it.
You have to constantly be a learner.
Yeah, no question. Learning is earning. I remember my son coming to me when I was 9 years old. We're in our mansion on the beach, owned, $80 million worth of real estate. And I said, I'm going to a real estate seminar. You're like, Dad, what are you doing going to a real estate seminar? You could teach it. I've got hundreds of books on real estate.
Yeah.
And that I had the opportunity to coach him on that. And love it. So guys,
it's so funny you say that, because I got to come back with one thing. My son is, going to be a senior in high school, and it's too funny. The other day he says to me, Dad, I just paid $250 for a phone call for somebody. It's an area he wanted to learn. I looked at him. I said, you got it. You figured it out.
Love
I
it.
said, 17, you were willing to take $250 out of a very minuscule checking account to have a 20-minute phone call with somebody to solve a problem in a business that he's playing with. And I said, son, you got it.
No, I love it.
That's one of the secrets.
You've got to invest in yourself. And this is not, some of you listening may be thinking, oh, that's self-serving because you sell courses and coaching. Listen, I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, on my own personal coaching, on masterminds that I belong to, and mentors and coaches and books and seminars and boot camps and everything else. To this day, I've got drawers filled with lanyards from seminars that I've gone to.
I sent an email just yesterday to take somebody that, if I mentioned their name, everybody would know them. I offered $25,000 just to go to lunch with them.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Because there's something he can teach me, and he's not the only person I've made that offer to. So yeah, the fastest way to get from point A to point B is to find somebody who went from point A to point B before you.
That thinks what you think is hard is easy.
Exactly. They've already done it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. Come on. You got more. Keep
All right.
them coming.
Last thing, though, this is the big one. It's really big, is that you're going to have to change. Everybody has to change. I mean, when you look at Blockbuster, I apologize, but whoever's on the board of Blockbuster should be kicked right square in the fanny. I mean, the worst board in the history of mankind, American Online and the merger with Time. I can go all the way down. I mean, what happened to Circuit City? Sears, did you notice that big catalog that had 1,000 pages in it was going online in the early 90s? I mean, these businesses that they die.
Innovation and marketing, like Drucker said, you got to innovate. And like Blockbuster had an opportunity to buy Netflix.
Exact $50 million. $50 million. How did they not see these red little boxes outside every grocery store, for Redbox, whatever the case may be? You have to change personally, and your business has to change. You've got to constantly be adapting.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and there's only one constant in life, guys. It's change. You've got to be able to get uncomfortable. You've got to push through that. You've got to push through fear. And the key is you're going to have problems. The key is to have quality problems. Okay, and like right now, I haven't got enough coaches because all my coaches actually actively do this business. It's a quality problem, but that's the key, is to have better problems.
And one last thing on the book, because just hit me. My big pet peeve, and I can't believe I didn't bring it up because it's in the middle of everything, is know your numbers. The big problem with business owners is, I said, well, how are you guys doing financially? And he goes, well, I'm going to meet with my accountant in a few weeks. Listen to me, if your accountant is the person who updates you on how you're doing, you don't have a plan. You don't know what you're doing financially. I get a dashboard emailed to me every single morning at 4:30 in the morning from my CPA on every single one of my bank accounts. In my office, I have another CPA who sends me a report at 4:30 p.m. every day on every single one of my businesses and what happened by the end of the day. And those two things better parallel.
You bet.
So you got, as a business owner, you got to be a numbered savant. You got to know what it costs to produce your product, whatever your service, your labor, whatever it costs to run your business. You got to know every number. You've got to be OCD about numbers.
So how does that translate into multifamily, my friends? You have got to study this business so you understand the numbers, because multifamily is empirical. It is numbers. And you've got to have optics on those numbers after you buy a property. I have dashboards being put together right now for this thought leadership business that I have. And literally today, I got an example of one on a call yesterday and one today. We're developing those dashboards like you described, so I know how we're doing on a daily basis. How many butts do I have in seats at my live events? How many people are interested in coaching? How are they converting? And as it relates to multifamily, it's if let's say you're renting apartments. How are those leads coming in? Are they converting? Are they being shown? Every one of those steps you've got to have optics on, and then from the lead all the way through to a signed lease. And that's what he's talking about here, guys, is you've got to have optics on your business. Bottom line. Awesome. What else?
Man, I've exhausted myself of everything I can think of in a cooking. But
let me ask you this: you could teach.
Ask me anything.
Yeah, let me ask you this: if you could teach school children, knowing what you know, one thing, what might you teach them that's not being taught? And then we could talk about this.
It's funny that you say that, because my son was in an entrepreneurship class in high school, and he said, "Dad, would you come teach our class?" And he said, "Dad, nobody's going to pay attention to you." I said, "Son, I have a unique set of skills. Everybody will pay attention to me." So when I left, he sent me a text, and he goes, "Dad, that was incredible. Everybody wants to talk to you." And the whole thing I talk about is the mindset. It's what I told the kids. I said, listen, if you don't get anything out of what I'm going to tell you, if a genie comes up to you on the street and says you can have anything you want, you better be able to answer that question in detail. I wake up, and I know you do as well. I know exactly what I am shooting for today. I know exactly what I want 5 years from now and what I'm shooting 10 years from now. Successful people know what they want. And when you know it, then you can reverse engineer everything from that. So that's the number one thing. Know what the heck you want.
I listen, that's why I start my coaching and my live events with a goal setting session. People are like, I'm here to learn real estate. No, you're not. You're here to figure out exactly what the freak you want and then why you want it. Okay. And if you look around my office here, I have pictures of the things that I want now. I have pictures in
my weight room. I've got pictures all the way around of everything I want for the next 10 years.
That's right.
You got to know what it is you want.
That's right. Last question.
Yeah.
What besides your books, of course, and by the way, guys, you can check him out at Sean. Spell your last name for me.
Castrina, Castrina, and that's Sean, Sean.
Yeah, Sean, Castrina.com. And what books do you like to gift the most?
It's funny that you do that. Think and Grow Rich. I have about 15 books that I'm always giving away. Think and Grow Rich is number one. Yeah. I like Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I'm trying to plant the seed of what entrepreneurship is like. So I love Think and Grow Rich. I still think for the pillars of the right qualities a person needs to have, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is still in my top 20. I love the 10 Natural Laws of Time and Life Management by Hyrum Smith. He's the guy who started Franklin Covey. He's the guy. He was the original Franklin fan.
I've never heard of that one. Thank you.
Listen to me. One of my 20 best books that you'll never, just an unbelievable book. You won't be able to put it down.
Love it.
Leadership. I love John Maxwell. 21 Irrefutable Laws.
Yeah.
His stuff is great. Anything on the lines of that. I'm always looking for stuff. I'm into a lot of Russell Brunson stuff right now. He's got me pretty fascinated with some of the things he's saying. I tell people, just read. My son it's funny, I only paid my son to read. That's the only thing he gets paid for as a teenager. I say, taking out the trash, that's part of living here. Reading and telling me what you read, that I'll pay you for. So my son's always reading. So I'm always looking for books to read.
What a great way to instill that in your boy. And you talk about Think and Grow Rich. I'm not exaggerating. I've given away almost 3,000 copies now of that book. 3,000. I'm not exaggerating. And
no, it's the single greatest book not written by a prophet today. Period. It is absolutely a book that I read it through about 4 times a year.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you need to read it at least once a year. You say 4 times a year. Well, there you go. I couldn't agree more. All right, last question. Yeah. What do you think is the number one reason most people fail to succeed in business?
I think number one is that they think it's going to be easier than it is. Number one, they just think it's going to be easier. I find that businesses start and they just survive. They never have a growth plan. They get so content so fast. Like the second they make maybe what they were making as an employee, I made it. And they get into a survival mentality. And I'm like, golly, they always be in a growth mentality. Great employees don't want to work in a survival company. They want a growth mentality. So that's my biggest thing is I just think people just don't set ambitious enough goals for themselves or for their companies.
Love it. And guys, again, this all relates to multifamily. You may think it doesn't, but it does, because I will tell you, it's never about the goals. Yes, the goals will drive you and propel you and push you and pull you and all that. But once you reach them, if you don't continue to grow, you're going to die. And if you don't continue to grow, you're not going to be happy. I tell the story, I built that testament to my ego on the beach, $10 million house. And I was depressed 2 months after it because I was like, what's next? Because I wasn't growing anymore. Love it. Growth mentality is critical. And like I've got students that are quitting their W-2 jobs this month, and that's the message I've got to get to them. You've got to continue to grow, continue to buy, continue to be excited about this business. Don't coast just because your nuts covered. Yeah. Well, listen, Sean, you've added tremendous value today, my friend. I really appreciate you being on the show.
You.
And really enjoyed this. And I'm sure our paths will cross again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you listen to podcasts, join me on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to those podcasts. Just search for Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing.
Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws.